Okay. So basically, the idea was to just let everyone know that how programming would be. Uh, you can use initially any platform for your P2. It doesn't necessarily have to be Python, but obviously later on we will be using Python for paper two. But you don't really have to use it. What I believe in is, and that's the way it goes, that if you do your computational thinking and your programming tasks in a high level language such as JavaScript, Python, or C Sharp or any language, it will be a lot easy for you to solve those computational thinking problems such as pseudocodes, flowcharts, and English prose. Because you need to know what different components come in object-oriented programming language. Okay, so uh, what we did discuss yesterday were different things. First of all, you should know is what is object-oriented. Uh, please forget my spelling if I'm typing it wrong. What's object-oriented programming language? We talked about this yesterday. We talked about that object-oriented programming language is that has functions, uh, that has classes. Okay. Now, what are functions and classes, by the way? First of all, you should know is what object-oriented programming language is. HTML is not. HTML is a content-driven language in which you can simply add the content. CSS for the past 20 years has been, but now it's also object-oriented. So in object, you can create things of your own. You want to create a new program, you want to create a new app, you want to create a new functionality. It can be done using the object-oriented programming language. Sorry, I wrote something. It's oriented programming language. Okay. So object oriented means you can just create any functionality. It could be anything. Maybe you're passing by a door and you want a counter to count something. Okay. Maybe you click on something, something happens, any sort of functionality. So when a user needs to create something on their own, it has to be done in languages that are OOPS language. We call them OOPS, object-oriented programming language. So function is the first thing. You can create functions, you can create classes. So you should know what string manipulation is. You should know what arrays are. You should know how data is held, how data is stored. You should know how data is manipulated. You should know how functions are created. You should know what loops are, which we call them iteration. You have to reiterate. Loops are around you everywhere. Where you want a particular step to be repeated again and again, you will need is a loop. So the one of the most and the important loop that you have in languages is the for loop. Okay, so we did discuss the for loop yesterday. Let's discuss it again. For those of you who weren't there yesterday, it will be a repetition, no problem, but it's definitely going to help you a lot in P2, right? P1, I'm telling you, inshallah, I believe before our half yearly, we will be able to finish our P1 with the past papers. It's not a big deal. Yes, I am telling you, P2 is more challenging. So there's no harm if we do spend more time in on P2. There's no harm in that. So you just need to understand what I'm explaining today, because the concepts. Okay, you're not supposed to exactly code, but you should understand how does it work. Okay, for P2. So let me just type a code, exactly the same code that I did type yesterday, and I'll just explain what. No, I'll initialize 0, A, just 10, and A is equals to A plus 1, right? So obviously, if I run this, I will get over here is 1 till 10. And if can I just view this bit more? 1 second, 7, 15. I just want to increase the size of this so that you can see it in HTML. Yes. So these are all the languages that are being supported through our Java, Dreamweaver. So many languages. Okay, so hold on. Science. Okay, anyway, I'll just try to zoom in afterwards. So here we go. Let me run this again. And we need to understand over here is, as you can see, I hope you can see that I'm getting from 0 to 10 over here. So loops, you have, they actually are made up of three different parts. They are always going to be initialized. Okay. We call this initialization, where a variable is initialized with any particular value. Then you have this colon, I mean, just separating the three parameters. Okay. Then I have variable where it is being compared with something. Then I have the same variable which is being incremented, or it could even be decremented. The point to be noted over here is the condition. If this condition is true, then obviously this will happen. Okay, and this is what we did discuss this yesterday. Again, if there's someone who did attend yesterday, that will be a recap. It will obviously be an advantage to you. So if I, for example, type over here document.write, I just want to make the concept clear, and I will write over here is I am out of here. So if I run this now, obviously at the end you see is I get I am out of here now. Let's see why am I getting that. But there are certain things about the for loop that you need to understand. Okay. First thing is that whenever you initialize a for loop, okay, it will only initialize for the first time. It will initialize only once we are out of this bracket on line 16. Once we are out of this bracket and we go back again, yes, it will reinitialize again. But otherwise, as long as we are inside this, it will not reinitialize again. Let me explain again. So A is 0, and you would agree with me that 0 is less than 10, which means that the condition is true. If the condition is true, then what will happen? This particular thing will happen. Yes, this means A is 0 and 0 will be printed out. Okay, this technically means that I'm going to the next line. Okay, right. So JavaScripting was there in the previous syllabus. It used to come in P1 directly as a question of 12 marks. It's no longer in the syllabus, but yes, we've been advised to teach you for P2 using JavaScripting. But again, it's up to the teacher to teach whatever language they want. So we have BR over here for coming to the next line. So I come to the next line. But before that, the important thing is I did compare this and I did print this because the condition was true and I printed line 14. Afterwards, I have an increment, which means A is equals to A plus 1, which technically means is A is equals to 0 plus 1. So A will become 1. But A will become 1 in the next occurrence, which tends to be the very, very important point. When I use the word next occurrence, it means next time when I come back, then the value of A would have been 1. So this means if I go back after printing 0, I go back. Now the value of A is 1. Now I would say is 1 is less than 10. 1 is less than 10. Again, my condition is true. And this means I will be printing 1 over here. And with BR going to the next third line. But at the same time, A plus 1, which means 1 plus 1 would become 2. So now A is 2. So every time there's a next occurrence coming in, it goes back. It compares 2 with 10. Same way, the condition tends to be true. It goes back and writes them that. Okay. So 2 gets printed, goes to the next line, increments by 1, 3, increments 4, 5, 6, 7. It keeps on doing so unless and until we reach 10. Once we reach 10, 10 is printed. But at the same time, 1 is incremented, 10 plus 1, and it becomes 11. When it becomes 11, it comes and compares, is 11 less than equal to 10? It says, no, it's not true. And right away, it jumps out of the bracket, which is on line 16, and directly goes to line 17, stating that I'm out of here. You get my point, all of you. Before I continue, any question? Yes, beta. Obviously, I'll share this video with you. You have to watch it again to make it clear. Any question, anyone? Okay. I believe no.
No, sir, it's clear.
Right. Now, you will help me out with this, and you will tell me something. Okay. Same thing I did. Those who were here, who were present yesterday, obviously would know the answer right away. But those who were not, try to think over it. What will be the output be now? I'm exactly repeating yesterday's lecture on your request. So what would be the output? Think over it. So run the dry run testing mental model in your brain and think. So I'm initializing with what? Then I have what condition? Is my condition true or not? If my condition is true, will the code block happen? What's the code block? The code block is this area where if the condition is true, the following will happen. The following will happen. Whatever is in this bracket, we call it the code block. CODEBLOCK, the code block. Yes or no? So obviously in this case, 12 is not less than. So if I run this, I will directly get is I'm out. Why is that so? Because my initialization was 12. It checked the condition, said no, the condition not true. I'm going out of here. So this means how important is the condition? Yes or no? Is that clear? Okay. So if I make it negative, what would be the answer? Think over it. Obviously, the answer would be the same because still my condition is not true. What would we answer right now? Anyone think over? What would be the answer now? And no one? This means you didn't get it? Yeah, so what would it be? Just give me any answer, beta. It doesn't matter. You've not done
Yeah,
this.
I was thinking that maybe no answer would come as like
Mhm.
12. Oh, wait, you did -1. So I don't think any answer will come, honestly.
Absolutely correct. Very well done. Who was this?
Iman, Shazad.
Iman, very good. Actually, there will be no answer. Anyone would like to add something to it? Your answer is right. There will be no answer. But would there be something more to it? So do the dry run
Sir,
test.
I don't understand what you mean. I don't understand your question.
My question is, what do you think so the output will be? If I run this, think of the variable, think of the initialization, think of the condition, and think of the decrement. So what the output will be, I'm saying is.
Sir, the output only would be I am out of here. That's it.
Eliza, yes, your answer is correct, but I want, yes, beta, sorry.
Sir, I'm saying will it just be I am out of here?
It will be an infinite loop, won't it be?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Why would it be an infinite loop?
Because, sir, as the 12 can't be taken in, it will go and try again and check if there's
Exactly.
any other value.
Yes. So it's -12. So -12 is less than 10. And then I'm decrementing. So first I have -12. I print -12. I go, then it becomes -13. Then it becomes -14. It keeps on going on. Every time, it will always be less than 10. There will be no stop. I will not run this because if I run this right now, my Dreamweaver will get stuck. It will not be able to produce the output because it will go in billions. You get my point? Negative billions.
Yes, sir. It could go into negative billions.
Yes. So are you catching up with the point? Yeah, I'm just trying to explain how what
Yes,
is the
sir.
for loop. Very good. Very good. Okay. This means what if I do this now? If I make this greater than, let's have a look. Let's see what happens now. Okay, if I may say, is it greater than? Think over. And these sorts of questions come in P2 as a pseudocode directly. 4 marks question, 5 mark question.
Sir, will it again be that there will be nothing will appear on the thing, only I am out of here will appear?
Very good. Excellent again. Absolutely right. Because again, it will say minus 12 is not greater than 10. That's wrong statement. We always have to look at the condition. Again, if the condition is true, then this happens. I repeat again, if this condition is true, then this happens. Okay, condition can be true, condition can be false. That's it. We don't have a fuzzy logic here. Okay, fuzzy logic means another state. We just have two states, either true, either false. That's it. Get my point? So you're right. Okay, I'll make it different now. So actually I had first this, let's make it this, and let's see who is there now to answer this. What would be the output be now?
Sir, I still think that there wouldn't be any output except I am out of here.
All of you think, what would happen now? Run the loop, take your time, create a mental model, run the loop. Write down the value somewhere.
It would keep adding till 10 and then we'll get I'm out of here.
So it will start from where?
Minus 12.
Very good. And it will go till where?
10.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes, absolutely right. Very well done. Who was this?
Eliza.
Eliza, very good. Let's try this. Okay, I hope it doesn't get stuck. Actually, sometimes the previous statement, just hold on. I hope that is not being executed. Just 1 second. Yeah, I'm running now. Okay, if it's not running right now, so no issue. I can simply preview this in the browser. There's no issue with that. Sometimes this does happen. So I can have it over here. Okay, just 1 second. So exactly, you see, it went from, here you go, this is what your answer was, and it's correct. So minus 12, and I'm out. Obviously, that's how it goes. Anyone has a doubt in this, please make sure it's clear. I mean, like I told you, very soon in P2, we'll be doing this. I mean, P1 is not a big problem, telling you again and again. Inshallah, it will not be a problem for you, for majority.
Sir?
Yes, beta?
Sir, I wanted to ask if it was A is greater than 10, so then also it would not have any output, right? Only
Exactly.
have I am out of here
Exactly.
as an output.
Yes, you're right. Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. So, I mean, there could be different ways the examiner could obviously play around with the for loop to get your concepts. Okay, that's the way this can be dealt with. If this is clear, can I discuss the next part? If there is no question. I'm waiting. Okay, so I'm going to discuss the next part. If there is no question. Well, the next part is, in fact, more interesting. I'll tell you why is it more interesting. Because over here, we will be discussing will be the nested. Nested means a for loop inside a for loop. So for that particular case, I need to have a different variable. I need to compare that variable with my previous variable. Okay. And I need to increment that variable of mine. And this for loop needs to have its own code block that would be doing this. It would be printing for me is the star. It could print anything else as well. And afterwards, what I want to do is I just want to add a space. Okay. Like I said yesterday, it's one of the typical questions that comes when you go for a job as a programmer or somewhere else. This is a typical question that is always there. I hope it works out over here, and otherwise I can view the browser. So there's no problem. I should have viewed in the browser. Okay, you see, it just doesn't want to give me the output right now over here. So I'll view this in the browser. And this is what I get in the browser, if you can see that. We are getting this. We're getting the star, and I am getting out of here. Okay, so if all of you can see, let me just zoom into the browser a bit more, because I would like to emphasize on this code. So all of you can see this, and please make sure those who were there in the yesterday class, those who were not, everyone is clear. Okay, right. So what we have over here is we actually have to write down in a trace table some points. Like when I talk about the next occurrence, I'll write down somewhere. I can make a mental model out of it. So first of all, let's see. We have a is equals to. In fact, let me just do is generate it this way. A plus plus, and here we go. Just one second. Just one second. It would be a lot easier for me to explain this one. No, yeah, that was different case. This is a different case. So what's happening over here? Okay, we will just discuss this and then we'll stop, because this is very, very important. So what's happening over here is, let me come back. I have a variable a, which is initializing with 0. 0 is less than 10. And in the next occurrence, a will become 1. So I'll just note down somewhere that when I come back in my loop, a would be 1. Fine. But right now, a is 0. Remember that a is 0. So if this statement is true, this means this particular part. So this bracket is for this for loop. This means its code block starts from line number 12 and goes to line number 20. So line 12 to line 20, I have the code block for the for loop, which is in line 11. So if I go inside this code block, that's basically is starting from line number 12, I have another for loop. Obviously, since 0 is less than 12, this will be executed. Once I go inside this another for loop, I have another variable that I encounter, and this variable is again starting with 0. No problem with that. Now I say is that the value of b is 0 and the value of a is 0. Remember, the value of a was 0, which means 0 is equal to 0. Again, this condition is also true. This means if this condition is true, the code block for this for, which starts from line 14 and ends up at line 17, the following code block, whatever is inside that code block, will obviously happen. And what's happening inside this is that it is just going to write star. So you can see the very first star that you see is being printed. I am still inside this for loop. What happens is I will increment b by 1. So b becomes 1. When b becomes 1, a is always 0. A is still 0 over here. Not always 0, I'm sorry. I mean, a is still 0. So b is 1, a is 0. 1 is not less than 0. The statement is false. The condition is false. Once the condition is false, it goes to line 18 because it comes out of the bracket which is on line 17. So when it comes to line 18, document.write.br actually is used to just go to the next line. That's it. So I come to the next line. I go back. I can recall that I did note down that a was 1 in my next occurrence. Oh, yes, I remember that. So 1 is less than 10. Oh, the condition is still true. So I go to, then what happens is I would obviously remember that in my third occurrence, A would become 2. I'll write down somewhere again because 1 plus 1 is 2. So A would become 2 in my third occurrence. I'll just write down. But currently A has become 1. Fine, no problem. 1 is less than 10. Again, I go back to line 13. I come across another, again, the same for loop, but again, now this for loop, which has the B variable, will again be reinitialized because I'm entering it again. So in this case, B is 0, and remember, A is 1 now. So it says 0 is less than 1. That statement is true. It's true. But next time, the B will become 1, but right now, B is 0. So document write star. Second line, the first star gets printed. I go back. B gets incremented. B becomes 1. A is 1. So B 1 is equals to 1. The condition is still true. Again, the code block, which happens to be in line 14 to line 17, is in executed, and another star and the same line gets printed. So increment happens again, where B becomes 2. So B is 2, A is 1, 2 is not less than equal to 1. The condition is false. Right away jumps to line 18 and goes to the third line and start blinking over there. It goes back, and I remember that my variable A was actually 2. I did note down somewhere. That was my third occurrence, the third cycle, I would say. So now what's happening is my A, which is 3, which is 2, is less than 10. Condition is true. I would remember that now A would increment to 3. B again is 0 because the condition is true. 2 is less than 10. This happens again. Okay, for loop, the inner for loop, B is 0. So 0 is less than equal to 2. It will increment next time. So the first star gets printed. B becomes 1. 1 is less than 2.
Sir, I'm slightly confused how this works.
No. What is confusing? It's okay. I can discuss with you.
Sir, that from A it goes to B, that's fine.
Okay.
I get confused. Why is it printing 2 in the second line? That's where I'm confused, basically.
Printing 2 stars. I'll tell you why 2 stars.
Yeah.
Listen. You agree with me that when we are in the second line, the value of A has become 1. Do you agree with me that?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Excellent. Then do you agree with me with one more thing is that when I enter line 13, the value of B is 0 because every time I enter the for loop